Today I'm going to give you some ideas on how to use those Dollar Tree tags. Keep watching. I'm Brandy and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome back.
So you can see that I'm going to be using some spray paint in this project. I've got some pieces of fabric. I have this Decor USA piece that came from Dollar Tree. My fabric was thrifted, by the way. This is the thrifted piece. It's a puzzle backing, which makes great signs if you haven't tried it. And this is a Dollar Tree tag sign that I've had for a while and I've used it before. I'm going to use just a little piece of sandpaper. Also, I got this in a pack at Dollar Tree. You see my theme here with the Dollar Tree things, right? Alright, so I'm going to gently pull this off because I want to keep this piece of burlap cord. I can use this for a bow later if I want to. With scraps, I think that it's important to hang on to them. You never know what you might can use again. So I was very happy to find on inspection of these glittery letters that they really have sort of a paper backing, and rather than spending my time sanding them to try to get that off and making that mess and inhaling all that stuff, I can just easily peel that off. And there's something quite satisfying about doing that too. Especially when it comes off in a big chunk. See how easy that is? I mean, it took very little time to do this. So you're going to do this to each one of your letters. Because flipping them around won't work. It won't work because the letters won't match correctly. So then, there's just a little bit of stuff still left on there. You can peel further down if you'd like, but for me, I thought that the texture of this would hang onto that paint a little bit better. So I went ahead and sanded down all the edges because they weren't really sanded. They didn't have a nice edge. They were just, you know, it's a Dollar Tree item. And I wanted mine to look a little better. So I'm take them outside and spray them down with 2 coats of that matte. And then do the same thing to the sign. Now, what are we going to do with this and this? We're going to put it on our sign. It was painted also, but really with the natural texture, it was so light, it wasn't necessary for me to do that, but I did it anyway. So I'm just going to trim this down, and we're going to wrap it around this little puzzle sign. Very easy to do. Just going to run a bead of glue. Be sure you don't take too much time though after you lay your bead of glue, because it will start to dry and then you're just going to have to add more glue, and we don't want to waste, right? The corners are easy enough to do. Turn it under like this, add a little bit of glue, and then fold it up. And then you have a nice neat corner. And don't worry about all the excess because you're going to trim that off. I just wanted to make sure that I had plenty to make my line straight, and when I pull it, I'm lining it up with the natural stripes on the fabric, and that helps me keep it fairly straight. And that's important when I start doing other parts of the project, that those lines are pretty straight, that my pattern is pretty straight. So my tag is dry. I did go ahead with the letters and that white tag and put 1 coat of linen white chalk paint. I didn't add that in there, but I did do that just to really make a good solid color. Do you see here how we're doing this ribbon, or this piece, this 4-inch piece of fabric? I learned that from some of my YouTube friends, crafty cousins. Okay, so we've cut this piece, and I'm just going to pull this loose because I want the frayed look on both ends. I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to take a little snip, pull it, grab one of the threads, and when I pull it down, it's going to leave a line for me, a gap in that fabric to cut right along there, so I've got a nice, clean, finished edge. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this end. I'm going to grab a couple of threads and pull those out. And this is going to look a little bit like a sash across there. So now I'm going back over those letters, and I'm going to go around all of the edges that I can reach with a sanding block to rough it up, and then what I can't get with a sanding block, I'm going to use a folded piece of sanding paper. And the grit on that sanding paper is has more of a bite, so where you use that paper, you're going to have a more distressed look. And you'll probably see that in here. But now I like that brown showing through the original color of the sign. I like the look of that. So here we go. And you see how you can just put that in, wrap it around your finger, and get inside of those little crannies that you can't reach with that block. You can also use a nail file. Okay, so once all that's done and you've dusted them off a little bit, we're going to start placing them down on this piece. Decide where we want them. And this is what makes that pattern being straight or fairly straight convenient, because I can line my letters up going by that. Now I'm going to have my S overlapping slightly the U and the A. I'm going to need to raise that up, and I'm going to use some of the scrap foam board. I'm just going to add those down in areas where they're not touching the other two letters, but where it is touching the background underneath. Okay. So we have not glued down that red to that plaid fabric yet, and it doesn't matter, because, or the checked fabric, because this is, the letter here is going to glue it down. It's going to be sandwiched in between. So I'm going to line it up, decide where I want that, and then I'm going to press it down. And I'll do the same thing with the A. I'm looking at the line there, trying to see where it is and get it fairly straight. And then I will know where to put the S. I'm adding my glue on the raised areas because that's what's going to be touching. And I'm going to press that down. I did set a paint can over the top of that to make sure that everything stayed in place. For our embellishments, I'm going to use some of these bicycle spoke charms. I got those at Dirt Cheap. And I'm just going to use my bullnose pliers to cut those off. You can use like a nail remover type thing too if you'd like. That way they'll lay nice and flat. I've used my ruler to go across the section of the top here, so I will know how I want to space out my stars. And there's only blue and white in here, which works great because my background, there's blue and red, my background is white. So it worked out nicely, I think. When I got these, I think I got them 95% off last year. So I paid just a few cents for these, and I knew that they would come in handy for something, and they were perfect for this project. I just knew this was the project. So now I'm going to add some to the letters. I'm going to do a blue, and then a red on the S, and then another blue on the U. I've just kind of put them there randomly, but you know, going at an angle, making sure all my little points are going up, just because I don't claim to have OCD, but I do like things to be fairly symmetrical. Now I'm going to put a big dollop of glue in each corner and then across the high sections of this. I'm going to turn this and get a good look from above, try to get this as evenly spaced and level as possible. I want it to stay down on that well, so I'm using these big clips to hold this in place. And then there are my other clamps on the other side that I mentioned earlier. I think I mentioned them. Okay, now we are going to make an extra little something for this, and I bet you know already what I am making. Yes, we're making a tassel. I'm going to just cut a little snip, and then I'm going to rip it away. I want it to be rustic and worn looking, and so ripping it instead of cutting it is going to give it that little rough edge that is going to make this project just really come together. I'm going to do the same thing with the blue that we used in the background, just tearing them, and some of them are longer than the other ones, which is not a problem because we're going to cut those in half and they're going to be perfect. So you just fold them and cut them. Then there's our pile. I'm going to gather up the pile there, kind of mix them up so you don't have too many of one color together. Of course, it doesn't matter once you get it bunched in your hand, and you could certainly use all of the same color if you want. Now I'm taking some red twine, and I'm going to tie this right in the middle and give it a couple of knots to make sure it doesn't come undone. This is so simple. Clipping off the extra, could be tucked in, but I went ahead and clipped it, and I'm just going to pull all those down. I want to leave a length of cord there because I'm going to use that to hang it, and then I'm going to start a new piece of that jute and tie a knot about an inch down from the top. This is going to hold all of that fabric into a tassel form. As you see, it's already starting to look like a tassel, right? A couple of knots to hold it down, to hold it together so it doesn't come undone, because I'm going to be pulling on it a little bit when I trim it up. So you're just going to twist, 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 twist around there till you get that as thick as you want it. I just kind of eyeballed it to what looked right. When you trim it, you can tuck it in. There's another one of those Cricut tools that I got at the thrift store. You just add a little glue, take that tail, and then press it underneath where you wound it, and it will stay perfectly. Then I'm going to trim off any extra threads that are hanging off. Then I'm going to start trimming off at an angle, some of them at an angle, but not in any particular order, to make this little tassel. Now we're going to attach this by just putting it through that hole there, pulling it up, and then we're going to lace it back and forth through that hole. Simple. You can put some tape on here if you need help, but the hole was big enough on the tag sign for it to go through pretty easily. You can see there it's pretty much will thread itself through there. It didn't take a lot of effort. I'm just taking the little spaces out so that it looks nice and solid. Gonna flip it over in the back, glue it, and trim it. Isn't that cute? Now, I'm going to just add a little bit of glue there so that it stays in place when I hang it up. We need a hanger, so I'm just going to use another piece of the fabric that we pulled off, and that's going to be our hanger for this one. Simple. To cover up the back and make it nice and neat, you can just put this down on some crafting paper, trim it up, fold it over, hot glue it down. Simple, simple. All right, so what do you think about this one? Which one is your favorite? Do you like the...
We're going to start off with glue stick, of course. Going to take some picks of your choice. I just have some eucalyptus here that came from the thrift store. I've got some roses and this heart pick that came from Dollar Tree. Here are some heart doilies from Dollar Tree in the Valentine section. This bag is a wedding bag, I believe, and it just came from the regular bagged section in Dollar Tree. And this is a sign, Valentine sign, which looks cute enough as its own, on its own. But we're going to fix it up, give you some options. So first off, we're going to choose which side of the bag that we want, and it's usually easier to do the side, in my opinion, that is flat and doesn't have the bend in it. So I'm just trying to take the bag apart a little bit. This doesn't matter if it tears. I just want to have a little bit easier access to cut, a bigger opening. So I'm going to lay this out flat and trim out the section that I want to use. If you want to leave the sides on there to carry it all the way across, you can, since there's a print on it, but I didn't want to do it that way. I've got another plan for that. So then you decide where you want to put your doilies, and I am just going to put mine kind of staggered down the front of this sign. Well, it's actually the back of the sign. And I think I will put my bag picture right there in the center, or close to the center. Okay, more problems with the glue stick. It's coming out really goopy. I don't know what's going on, but that's okay. It's easy to wash off, so I'll just use my hands where I need to be a messy crafter. Now, rather than going all over the board, I just want to make sure that I have enough to stick down, and then I want to put it down to hold it, and then go around the edges. Just lift up where it's not stuck down, and just add your glue around those edges. That way you don't have a big mess on the outside. There we go. And then we're going to just do this down the front. Be sure that you make sure that your layers are thin, that you just have one layer and you're not picking up two. You don't want anything falling apart later. I have mine arranged so that they hang over the sides, and I'll be removing that excess. I guess you could leave it if you wanted to, but these doilies are a little on the fragile side, and they would probably pick and tear, snag on things, so probably best just to trim it off. So I have my trusty sanding block that was sent to me by one of my viewers, and I am going to just gently trim this off. I sped it up a little bit. Okay, if you have any pieces sticking up, just press them gently back down. You still have that glue on there and it's still a little bit damp. Find the placement of your bag. Go ahead and add your glue all over the back of your bag, all the way down, especially to the corners and edges. And then place that down. When I placed mine down, I did not place it on there exactly centered. That's okay, that won't be an issue because I'm going to use a border around there. So it'll be alright. Don't discourage if you make little boo-boos along the way. With crafting, you can usually fix anything. And sometimes they end up being the happiest of mistakes. Alright, I've got some rope from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to use my pliers to cut it because it's very thick. And I'm going to make a border around here. This is going to give it some dimension. It's going to look 3D and it's going to act as a frame. So to keep it from unraveling, I've just put a little glue on the edge and then twisted it to make those strands stay together. If it's crooked, just go ahead and make your straight line. The thickness of this rope will allow you to overlap slightly onto that picture to give you a nice even edge if you need to do that. Be sure you put glue in that corner and hold that down for a minute so that it doesn't come loose, and it will keep its shape for you. You don't want to pull, you just want to guide it and lay it down. Don't pull it. And you're just going to continue that all the way around. I think this gives it a very nice rustic look, and then the wood grain of the bag also does the same. Plus you have the romance of the little lacy doilies in the background. I just think it's really pretty and fitting for a farmhouse rustic decor. Just removing the spider webs from the glue. And then I'm using my little bull-nosed pliers here to cut it and then trim it with the scissors. Add a little glue there, twist it and push it down and keep it from fraying. Now I'm just going to take this oak marker, this is a furniture marker, and just dot in the white that's under there because it was really standing out to me. Now it just looks like the background. We're going to make a little pocket on the bottom. It's only stuck on the sides, so you're going to wrap it around the back and then place it on the sides. Just a little line of glue there. So you have an open top and an open bottom. And I'm going to make a little bouquet to put on the bottom, and it'll be removable. So I'm going to cut off a few of these heart picks and some of the roses. These are such a pretty color. They're a very pale peachy pink, I think. Really good quality for Dollar Tree. I don't care for the foliage that's on there, but you know, for what we pay at Dollar Tree, you really can't complain. We're going to hide most of that greenery anyway. So now just start making your little bouquet in your hand, just like you would a regular bouquet. I'm going to tuck in my greenery. The word is greenery. Yeah, I'm going to put the green stuff amongst the staggered roses. We got different heights there, just because I put them in my hand that way. And then you can put your pick in at this point, or you can wait. I'm going to take a little bit of green chenille stem, wrap that around the bottom, and then I'm going to take a little bit of the burlap ribbon, there it is, and wrap that around. So when it's removed, if you decide you want to remove it, it looks nice, finished, and neat. Plus, if you use the burlap here, it helps give it a little grip on the other piece of burlap ribbon, which, by the way, those pieces came off of a roll from Dollar Tree. You can decide which side you want to put your arrangement on. Since I usually go to the left side, I decided to put it on the right side this time. And see, it holds it nicely. No problem. You have the freedom to move it around. It's not going to fall out. Now we're going to make a bow. These strips of ribbon are about 2 inches shorter than the one before it. So this is going to be a stacked bow. I'm going to put the largest layer on the bottom, then the next layer on top of that, and the next layer on top of that. Stack them. We're going to make a little loop to go in the center. So we're just going to take a short section, make a little loop. Watch your fingers. Glue goes right through this, and it is hot. Thus the name hot glue. Okay, so we're going to put that right in the center. Take a piece of jute cord or whatever you have, because you won't be able to see it. Twist it onto the back, pinch it in the center, and give it a good couple of knots. It's going to hold it in place. So I'm folding it there just to make sure before I secure it down that my sides are equal. That's all I was doing with that. So now I'm just playing around with the bow. And the wire in here helps it hold its shape. So that's really great with this wire. With this ribbon, rather. Looks like somebody needs more coffee this morning. Can't speak. Alright, so we're going to make the tails now by just cutting another length. That's about a 10-inch strip of ribbon. Pinching it in the middle, folding it down. I'm going to dovetail it. Glue it on the back in the center of that bow. Right where you tied it. Hold it for a minute or two. I edited that out. Be sure that you hold it in place, let the glue get cool, and then it'll stick. Alright, so here I go with a heart, and I'm going to place this down in the little bouquet bundle. You can use one of these, you can use two of these, you can put them wherever you want. After Valentine's, you can easily remove those picks out of there. They're not glued in. I'm going to take one of these rosebuds and a little piece of this eucalyptus and add it right to the top. A little bit of hot glue will hold it to the back of that bow nicely. Flip it over. You're going to make a little jute hanger. This is the way I do most of them. And I did not protect my fingers. I should have, so you protect yours. So now we have our little hanger, and it'll be underneath where that is, where that flower is. What do you think? I think it's very pretty, and I'm liking the peachy colors for Valentine's Day, I think, a little bit better than I don't really care for the fuchsia and the really bright stuff, so you'll probably see a little bit of pink in what we're doing here on my channel.
Okay, we're going to start off with some ribbon from the Dollar Tree. These are all from the Dollar Tree. I have a pretty gold satin and then some wired ribbons. I got these from the thrift store, but you can get some similar to it at Dollar Tree and at other stores. They're just wall adhesives. And then I have a tag sign that I got from Dollar Tree that I stripped down. I had used it before and I stripped it down, and I'm going to use it again. I didn't want to paint the background because I actually like the brown on this. So I'm just going to place these around here and there. Some of these stickers come separate from their leaves and some of them are attached. So you'll kind of see me pulling those apart and adding some different sizes in different places. And I do have some that are going to overlap on the sides. If you know anything about sunflowers, you know that they like to face the sun. So I'm trying to put them all sort of facing in the same direction, like they're looking for the light. Okay, so just press that down, and I'm just going to push it down over the edges, and I will sand that off at some point. Again, overlapping here, here and there. Just seems to give it a little more dimension when you do it this way. And this almost looks like there's another flower somewhere else, like the pattern continues. Now if you want to seal this, you can use any type of Mod Podge that you like. And I'm looking at some options here. We could trim this out with some ribbon on the bottom if we wanted to. And I'm going to use this to make a bow. So I'm measuring 16 inches. I'm crossing this bow over. This is wired ribbon. You can get it at Dollar Tree pretty much all the time. At my stores anyway, so hopefully you can find it. It's really pretty. You're just going to cross it over and then pinch it up in the middle, and that starts the base of your bow. Very simple. It's easy to adjust at this point before you have it tied off or wired off. You can adjust the length of your tails. You can also adjust them just by trimming it up at a later point if you like. I'm going to start with this bigger bow on the bottom. It's the biggest or widest ribbon, so we're going to use that on the bottom. And I'm just going to use some jute, tie that off in the middle. I'm going to leave my jute long so that I can continue to attach the other layers of bow on top. So here's our next layer. We're going to do the same process with the silk. It's a little bit slippery. It's a little bit more difficult to work with because it tries to crawl out of your fingers. Just pinch it tightly. And then you're going to lay that down on top and go ahead and tie that one on. Once you get used to doing it this way, you don't have to worry about your ribbons getting away from you. That jute is kind of rough, and it'll hold everything where it needs to be. You can always reinforce that with hot glue if you like, or you can use floral wire. Then we're going to top it off with this one. And you can get this one almost all year long too, I believe, at Dollar Tree. Then I'm going to, after I tie it, I'm going to wrap it around to the back, tie it again because I want everything to stay where it is supposed to be. And go ahead and start fluffing that out and moving those loops around where I want them. And then we're going to trim up the tails. I am just going to put these on a slant rather than dovetailing them. Now you can do it any way you want to, but it looks more finished to me if you do some type of a intentional cut. But you can leave it, squared if you like it that way. Certainly whatever you like, whatever looks good to you. So now we got this chunky little bow, very rustic looking, and we're gonna go ahead and add it. I'm gonna feed one piece of that jute through the hole and then one over the top and tie that in place. I have left the original hanger there. I found that if you just do a couple of little loops with the jute, a couple of little knots, that it'll stay, but you can put hot glue on there if you want to. So here is my little hanger, and I was trying to decide if I wanted the knot hidden or on top, but I like it on top. It's more rustic, and you know that's my style. I like the rustic. So I'm going to take this cute little mini sunflower, and this was thrifted. I got it at the thrift store. You can certainly use the ones from Dollar Tree, and just place that right in the middle. I'm thinking this would look really cute too on a clipboard. Dollar Tree has the little clipboards that are the brown color, that natural looking, almost like a cardboard box look. They have those, and you could probably get away with doing it that way too. Alright, I'm going to take some of this curved lace trim. Pulling on the pieces of thread is going to break that line so that it'll lay a little bit flatter, as that's what I'm going to do, because I want it to lay flat on the bottom. I'm going to add some glue and then place that right along the bottom. So if you didn't want to use this step, you wouldn't have to, but I feel like it is more rustic if you don't add it. It is more cottage if you do add it. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm trying to bring a little more cottage into my home, a little more feminine, and this seems to do the trick. It works for me. Then I'm going to layer down this satin gold ribbon. It's a beautiful shade. It's a yellowy gold, like a wheat color. I'm going to wrap it around the back and just tack it down. Very simple. I don't want anything to unravel or come apart, so this is just going to give it a nice little finished look. Alright, and because this has little holes in it and you can see right through it, I'm going to just put the glue right at the edge so that no glue comes bubbling through there, and you can see that gold right through the ribbon. I think that's a nice little surprise touch. And then you just press it down to make sure that it's got a good grip on that glue. And wrap it around the back and add a little hot glue. It's storming outside if y'all hear that thunder. Okay, then we're going to just turn it over and do a little fluffing because we mashed our bow. And there's our pretty little cottage sunflower sign. Cottage sunflower tag sign. I hope you like this one. Pretty simple to do. And here it is hanging up so you can see how it looks.
Number one, I'm going to take these vintage doilies, a box top from Dollar Tree, and a summer tag sign from Dollar Tree. That's how we're going to start. Just pointing out there that there's a faded area, but that won't matter because we have a way to hide that. I'm going to carefully pull those apart. I think they're kind of fragile. I'm going to cut off the tag, the hanger, and decide where we want to place it. You can get doilies, I think they're cloth, from Dollar Tree, and they might have some paper ones too. Pretty much going to use the same technique for this. So I've decided to slide that box top up to be closer to the top, and I'm going to trim this doily. And there we go. And then for the bottom, I'm going to use this one. Good old trusty glue stick from Dollar Tree. I'm going to gently add that down. I'm not going to be bearing down on this with the edge of that ruler because I don't want to tear those little delicate pieces. So I'm just kind of pressing and pressing with my hands to stick that down on there. And we're going to do the same thing with the bottom. I think that these doilies give it a pretty snowflake look. And I haven't seen this done, and I watch a lot of other YouTubers. for inspiration, and I haven't seen this done yet, so I thought this would be something fun to do. We're going to take the edges off of the box. You can cut these off, or you can use an X-Acto knife or a rotary cutter. I don't have one of those yet. And then you have pieces left for crafting with later, or you can do like I did and use a couple of those pieces to trim this out once you get it on the box, on the tag. This is pretty easy to cut out. You just cut right along that fold. Be sure that you make it a nice clean cut, as good as you can though, so you don't leave any, any of that green on there on the sides. We want those gray sides to be flush with the sides of the sign. Okay, so to hold this down, I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue. This will easily pop off if I want to change this out at some point, because this is it's not Gorilla Glue, in other words, so it should come off pretty easy. So now I'm trying to decide where I want to put my border. A little hot glue there, and just press that in place. And I'm going to do the same thing on the top. I'm going to take my sanding block from Dollar Tree. Again, I'm gonna cry if I don't find some more of these soon. Might have to go to Amazon and look for them, because I love these. They give the best edging, really give a nice look. This is in a fast speed, so you can't really tell, but I am being very gentle around the doily so that I don't pull it and tear it. And the glue stick has worked well to keep it in its place. So when you go over the green there on the edge and on the edge of the box with that sander, it gives it kind of a white aged look, which I really like, and I think it's great for a rustic or farmhouse look, giving it a little history, if you will. Looks like it's been around a while. Aged to perfection. And there we go. So I wanted to add a little extra trim here, and I'm taking a little of this jute cord, cutting a piece long enough that we can wrap to the back so we don't have to put any glue on the front. So if you hold it tightly in place, then it'll be in the same spot when you flip it over, just using the little extra corners of those box top sides as little band-aids to hold down my cord there. And I want to do that on all the pieces. There you go. This bow came off of another project, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how I made this so you can make one similar to it for yours. Just use some wired ribbon, and you're going to need some jingle bells, whatever color and style you like. You can see that I tore it off of another project. But since it's already made, I'm just going to use it. Now I'll show you how to make the bow. You're going to take a length of wired ribbon, and this is about, I'd say about 8 inches. You're going to fold it over into a loop or a circle and glue those ends together. Let it cool for a second, cut another piece, lay it on top, squish them together, And then take a piece of cord, ribbon, twist tie, pipe cleaner, whatever you got, and put a knot in it. You can trim that off. Dovetail the ends of the bow. And then you're going to take a little bit of hot glue and add some in the middle. That's all you have to do. So I'm going to take this little stick or this little dowel here that I had in my craft stash. I'm going to gently poke a hole back through the doily so that I can make a hanger. I'm going to use a little hot glue on the end of this cord and twist it. That'll give it a nice point that won't fray so that I can easily thread it back through the original holes that the original hanger came through. And you certainly use the original cord if you want to, and put it right back on. I want my knots to be in the front, so I'm just going to make a little loose knot on each side. When you slide them back through, you can see the knot on the front. And trim off your little pieces that remain. And we're going to put the bow down now. So you want to get that centered and just put that bow up there to complete your look. So this is look number 1. This is our red truck Christmas tag. That is a beautiful box top. And to think of someone just tearing through it, just breaks my heart. So here is our second option. Using the same package of doilies, we're going to get 2 of those out. And they're really stuck together, so be sure that you just have one layer or you're going to have issues when you try to glue it. I want to put these off center. And I'm going to add a metal snowflake and a Jingle All the Way metal piece that came off of another sign from Dollar Tree. I'm going to take dark steel and satin nickel, and I'm going to take those outside and give each of those metal pieces a quick spray with the dark steel, and then let it dry, go back outside and spray paint a little bit of the nickel on top, just a light dusting of it. Then I'm going to take my glue stick and I'm going to put this down while my metal pieces are drying. Again, patting down, pressing down to make sure that this glue is grabbing onto this paper. Be careful not to cover the entire board. Just do as much as you can and then go back along the edges where you need it. Pressing down firmly so that it gets all the little edges. You don't want anything peeling up, because if it starts to peel, it could catch on something and just ruin your project. So be sure that you're really getting that down. Take your scissors and trim off. You can leave a little on the edge. No need to be exact on this, because we're going to sand this down just like we did on the other one. Go along your edges and just cut. Okay. Sanding block. Again, this is in a fast speed, but you are going to be careful with this so that you don't tear any pieces or snag any pieces and destroy your project. See, it just frays right off of there. Careful around the corners here. I had to slow it down for you to show you what it looks like, how I really do it. You got to be kind of careful with this. And it looks like it was painted on, you know, from a distance. Obviously, if you're up close, you can see that it's not, that it's an applique, but it's pretty. And to me, it does look like there are snowflakes on there. So it's all dry, First attempt I made was with the glue from Dollar Tree, which was a no-go, so I went back with my Gorilla Glue. Be careful with this. Don't put so much glue like I did. I wanted to make sure that it stuck down, but I went a little bit overboard in some areas, which caused a little bit of bleed through. It is something that I fixed, and you'll see that once this is dry in a few minutes. But yeah, it was kind of yucky. And to think I could have avoided it, I'm hoping that you can avoid it now. Carefully place it where you want it, because you don't want to slide it at all or move it once you put it down, because it'll leave a mess. I just took a large plastic bag and a weight and covered this up. Once it is dry, this is how it looks. The Gorilla Glue did a fantastic job, but you can see where I have some residue here. I'm going to take a fingernail filer or an emery board and just file on that a little bit, and that's going to soften that look. You can definitely still tell, but it's not as bad. Gotta be super careful around that doily. So see if you can avoid that by just putting on a little bit less paint. That would be great. I've saved the sign that I peeled the jingle all the way from for another project. So nothing's wasted, and I ended up with two projects from one, which makes them about 50 cents a piece. Okay, same process as before. We're going to glue the end of our piece of twine, make a knot on the front, pull it through, and trim it up on both sides. Which one of these is your favorite? I'm going to make a little bow to go on the top. These are 3 12-inch pieces of jute cord. I'm just going to make a little shoestring bow here. And then I'm going to decide where I want to put it. And it's going to be in the right corner. A little hot glue keeps it in place. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to all my newbies. Thank you so much to you guys who've been around from the beginning and enjoy hanging out with me here on my channel. I will see you again real soon. Bye. We'll start with some doilies. They're paper, and you get a big pack from Dollar Tree. These signs also came from Dollar Tree. There are 2 different kinds, and I will be doing 2 different signs, but only one in this video, so be sure you subscribe so you can see the next one. We're going to start by saying that I was very distracted this day, and I could have removed the tag and the hanger at the same time, but my children were in the room running amok, so I did it in 2 different steps, but you know, not a big deal, right? Okay, so we're going to take our doilies out. These are paper doilies. They're the circular ones, not the hearts, but you use whatever you like. On this particular one, I wanted to use 2 different sizes of the circular doilies. Be sure that when you take those apart that you really get your layers undone, because they will stick together and it will look like one piece, and when you glue it there will be a mess. So just be sure that you have one layer. Decide where you want to put it. Look at this glue stick. I don't know what happened with this. I've always used Jot and I've never had this kind of a mess, but look here, I'm gonna fix it. Now, is that the epitome of a crafting mama right there? I'm making it work. That's right. It'll wash off, people. All right. So we'll just rub that around on there, and I'm just going to pat that down. It is overhanging the edge, and that's the way I like it. That is done intentionally. Don't worry if you get a little bit that sticks out. If a very little bit of it will dry and it won't be that noticeable, but you just don't want to cover the entire surface with it. Then go back under the edges that still need to be stuck down and just run that around in there and gently pat it. You don't want to necessarily drag it. You might tear those little delicate edges there. This was a big pack. I think there were 30 in there. I think I might have already said that. But 30 in there, and so this is going to be good for lots of projects. I have another video where I did a Christmas sign, and I did it with antique paper doilies, and that's very, very pretty. I'll try to put a link for you or put it in the cards so that you can watch that video if you'd like. Now I'm going to take my sanding block, which also came from Dollar Tree, and just gently sand down and away from the edge. That's going to make a very clean edge and make it look like it was almost painted on there. Nice and smooth. I'm going to do this to all of them. If you don't have a sanding block, you could always cut this, flip it over, and use a rotary blade. I have not found one at my Dollar Tree yet. I am on the lookout. Alright, so we're going to use these clings. You can put them on windows or doors, and we're going to place these down on this for decoration. Now, obviously this is not going to stick to a paper surface on its own, but we have a solution for that, the glue stick. So I'm just going to take my little protective sheet here. This is actually a cutting board from Dollar Tree. And turn that upside down and then just start covering the entire surface with that glue stick. And then place it down and you're all good to go. They have a lot of really pretty decorative window clings, all kinds of designs and styles. So if this isn't your thing, and glitter's really not my thing, but you know, it's Valentine's Day, so romance is in the air, we're going to do a little glitter. And the bigger heart will go in the big one here, and then I'm going to take the little section that has the writing on it, and we're going to put that in the bottom corner. I haven't had a problem with these bubbling or making a mess. They really lay down nice and flat, and they're easy to kind of move around. If you don't get it in the right spot at first, you can kind of slide it just a little bit. So just go back under and glue down the rest of your edges that need to be fixed in position. So here's a simple bow. This is just a shoestring bow if you want to do something like that, but I wanted to be extra today. So I am going to make a beaded hanger. I'm going to use this piece of tape, wrap it around the end of my jute twine, which came from Dollar Tree. It came in the automotive section, I do believe, so you get a big spool of that. Then I'm going to take some of these Christmas beads that I had on my tree. I had several sections, and I have just cut it, and I'm going to repurpose it for this. So at first I was going to do just the red beads, and it occurred to me, I think I have some pearl beads from Dollar Tree that will work, that are the same size. And look at that. Same size, and I think it looks really pretty together. So we have a red wood bead and a pearl bead, and I'm just alternating. If you would like to count those, feel free to do that. I did not count those for you. I apologize. Use as many as you want to make your hanger as long as you would like. This is very relaxing. White and red, white and red, white and red. If you didn't see it in my past video, my husband and I both ended up getting COVID, and it totally messed up my video recording schedule and the way I planned on doing videos. Oh, so forgive me for that, but I'm back on track. Okay, so we're going to tie a knot, and it needs to be a knot that is thick enough that your bead will not slide back down the jute. So that's what I'm doing right now, tying a double knot there. Move my things out of the way and do the same thing in the other end. There's a little slack in it, and I am totally okay with that. See there? There we go. This is how long my hanger will be. Now this is the back side, and I'm going to glue it down with some hot glue and a little piece of fabric that I had left over. It came from a Dollar Tree sign that I have taken apart. Makes a good little band-aid for my glue. And just put one on each side. And then of course you'll want to trim that off if there's anything that is overhanging. And I love that. Oh my goodness, do you like that? Would you have just used pearls or just used the red, or do you like the alternated ones? Because I really like them alternating like that. Okay, so we're going to take a bunch of different types of ribbon that will match. So I've got red polka dot, red check, I have pink check, I have solid pink, I have a thin metallic check, a solid this, a solid that. You can see what I'm doing here. And I'm going to make just a little, I'm going to use bits and ends of rolls. I think I finally finished off 2 rolls of ribbon that I had, and there's some sheer ribbon in there as well. You're just going to randomly put these down. It doesn't have to be any particular order. You could have just grabbed the entire stack off the table if you wanted to, but I wanted to kind of play with it just a little bit. So you just put them all on here, make your little stack. It's usually best to have bigger ribbons in the back, smaller ones toward the front, because the small ones will kind of get lost in all of that bulk. And then we're just going to push them together in the center and take a piece of strong jute and give it a good double knot in the center. Double knot, 3 knots, whatever you do, but it needs to be more than 1 or you will pull it loose. So now what I'm doing is just pulling my ribbons down so that I have them fairly equal on both sides as far as length goes. And I'm going to be dovetailing my ends. You see there, I flipped that red one upside down accidentally. That's okay, because there's red on here, so that is okay. You're going to do this all the way around both sides. On the thicker ribbons, I didn't bother doing this. On the thin ribbons, you probably couldn't have seen it anyway. You wouldn't have noticed it. If you have anything that you notice that is standing out, that it's too long, just trim it. And see here, I flipped that ribbon over a couple of times. And then we're going to attach it up here. It's going to cover up the original hole from the hanger. We're going to put it off to the side on the sign. And I love that. I'm going to call that a scrappy bow. How about that? I think I've called it that before, but I'm not sure of the name. But for today's purposes, we're going to call this a scrappy bow because I used some scraps in there. Alright, now I'm going to trim off the back because I did not do it a moment ago. Flip it back over and give it just a few more finishing touches. So for the center, I'm going to use a felt sticker that's a little heart that I got from Dollar Tree. I used a little bit of hot glue and stuck it on there. Then I decided that that pink heart would fit nicely in that white section of the red heart, and since I have pink above and in the bow, I thought this would carry that color down nicely, and it sticks on there really good. So what do you think? Do you like this tag? I love this tag. The one that I am doing next is quite a bit different. The style is, I'm using doilies, I will tell you that much, but the doilies are different and it is a different style. So stay tuned. Be sure you give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed these Dollar Tree DIY videos. And if you love crafting on a budget, give me a thumbs up. So I have got some burlap here. This is like a 9 or 10 inch. We're going to measure it. There we go. 9 inch. I've got a scrap of a satin ribbon that is white. A little loop here, a little circle of wood. A little frame from Dollar Tree. some more of that fabric, and 2 of these tags that I'm recycling from Dollar Tree. Now, Dollar Tree actually has these signs, and they're in different sizes. I did not know that until I started stripping my signs down to recycle them, that there are actually signs that are a little bit bigger than other ones. So be watching. They try and be sneaky with us, y'all. They try and be sneaky. All right, now I'm going to pick my scene. I love the idea of this lady looking downward. We're going to do something special with that. A little extra thought process here. I'm going to trim it down a little bit so we can wrap it around the tag. Make sure that that white is not showing. I'm going to hold it in place and flip it over. Whoops, you scooted just a little, but I'm gonna fix it. And then we'll do the glue like we did before, but the before, I believe I protected my fingers, and I'm not being a good example for you now. But yeah, protect your fingers, y'all. All right, and then we're just going to continue all the way around. Whatever technique you like to use to cover your pieces, you can certainly do. I do some different things, just depends on how the mood hits me. And honestly, when I'm crafting, sometimes I don't, this is going to sound terrible, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. I kind of get lost in the end result, and things just start moving really fast for me, and I can't keep up with what I'm doing. You know how it is when you get it, when you feel like you're in the spirit and you just keep going. That's kind of how it was. So now once it's completely full, I'm going to use my finger to feel where that hole is on the top, because we will be utilizing that. I'm going to use some little sharp scissors here to just stick in here. You can use an awl, you can use whatever you have, just make a little hole in there. You could use a pin if you wanted. And I'll cut a little X in it as well, so it will press down. We don't want to lose where that's at, right? So this is just a pencil, and I'm just going to push it down in there and twist it. Now I can really see it. So that's perfect. That'll be great when we get ready to use it. So I've got some beautiful, beautiful blue. This is a true navy, I do believe. And I'm going to paint the other side with this. I'm doing that because the burlap that we're using is a dark blue, and I do not want to see brown and white underneath my rich, beautiful blue. I'm also going to paint that little round wood piece with that blue and set those aside to dry. Now here's that frame. It's got kind of gaps in there, and which is fine, that's how frames look, but I wanted to kind of close those little gaps off a little bit, make it look a little less obvious, and make it look like a molded piece, right? So I'm going to try to cover up and press that in there in those little cracks, and then I'm just going to scrape off like the little excess. The way we paint this, you're not going to notice if you make a little bit of a mess on here, okay? So don't be too hard on yourself if you make a mess, like I was being when I did it. You don't want to do that. Now we're going to take a little bit of chalk paint. Now, I'm using the white chalk paint because I thought, all right, if I put this on thickly and let it dry, that's going to help disguise any cracks that are in there. Y'all, it does work. It does help, just like some of the other reasons we use chalk paint on pieces that are not perfect, because they help disguise things. All right, so I'm going to let that dry. Of course, when we do the entire thing, I think that's what I'm trying to show you here. Do the whole thing, all the sides, all the areas that you're going to be able to see, right? And we're going to let it dry between the layers. This just makes it dry a lot quicker. And chalk paint, really, I mean, even when somebody says we had to use 2 layers, it's not that big of a deal, y'all. It dries so fast, and the chalk paint goes a long way. Some bottles of chalk paint I have had for years. I just add a little water when it starts getting thick and just keep on going. All right, so now I'm going to use my little pouncer here and pounce another coat all over the top of it. And you can see the difference from the right and the left, the brush marks and the little pounce marks. See the difference? Then we're going to let that dry. We're really building this up. We're really making this a little more high end. Now, for some reason, my camera decided to eat the footage, so I'm going to show you what we did. See this technique that we have here? We're going to do this on this backing, which I painted white. I have a foam brush, which I have picked and torn pieces off of. So there are some pieces that stick out more, some that stick out less. We're going to do that technique on that whole thing. And we're going to kind of dry brush it along the edges. Then I'm going to do the little round as well. Okay? I'm so sorry, y'all. I wish you could have seen that, but if you've seen me paint frames and things before, you know how we did it, right? You know how to dry brush, you know how to go around all the edges. Y'all can do this now. I'm going to take that dried tag and lay it down on the burlap and get that thing in place. You see how we have plenty of room all the way around with our burlap to glue it down. Protecting your fingers definitely now, because burlap is an open weave, and if you use burlap and you don't protect your fingers, you will lose a fingerprint. Not really, but you know what I mean. You will hurt yourself, because you have to heat glue to make it liquid, right? You don't want to do that on our fingers. We'll go all the way around just like we did before, and then we're going to poke a hole just like we did before. I'm just using my beautiful little gifted scissors here, my little multi-purpose scissors. Okay, perfect. I love the blue, and look how beautiful the blue looks. Yes, it's a very dark blue, but there's very dark blue around all the edges of that print on that yellow. So it's going to work perfect. All right, I'm going to grab some hot glue and put around that hole on the top. The hole is actually smaller than the hole that is in this wood piece, which I knew that it would be. Press it down. We're going to let that dry. Once it's dry, I'll grab some more of that same dark blue paint and take a brush and go all the way over that hot glue that's on the inside. Now you won't see the hot glue, you won't see the hole, it'll be perfect. Now, we are going to put a frame on the other side, and we're going to decide, look at that little puppy. She would have been perfect, but it's too small. That would have been perfect. Oh. Then we could use flowers, we could use the little guys who are fishing, or we can just use some of this on the bottom. So I decided to use this greenery that's on the bottom. It's the beauty of toile, right? So many different little sceneries, so many options. If you can get 1 yard of this fabric, imagine all the pieces you could make with it. It's just amazing. It's such a beautiful, beautiful idea, I think, having all this on one piece. And a really good savings, I think. I'm so lucky to find things like this at the thrift store, and I'll just say that I'm blessed to find things like this at the thrift store, because I know a lot of people don't have access. But y'all check out garage sales, check out yard sales, church sales, places like that if you can't find things at a thrift store. You know? Offer to help clean out somebody's closet or their attic, you know. Somebody may have something like this that they don't use, or maybe they've forgotten they had. You don't ever know where you're going to find a blessing, right? Okay, so now I'm just going to use my glue stick, and I'm going to use my little squeegee and press it all out on the edges. I'll trim this down. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge of the paper, not necessary. It's going to help stay in place if I leave just a hair on the side, right? So when I push it in there, it's a little bit thicker. Everything's going to be snug and in place. Just press it down with my fingers into all of the corners. And then you can certainly glue it in place if you need to. But it's very strongly held in there, so I'm not even going to bother. Now I went around the whole bottom and sort of leveled it out with my glue so that I would have a strong hold on my piece of fabric there. And then I'll just, after it's cooled and it's solid, I'll add a little more glue and then place it down in the corner. Now it looks like the lady is gazing at that beautiful frame over there. It's just different, right? It's just different. Remember that song where there was a lyric in there that said things that make you go, hmm? It's kind of one of those things that make you go, hmm. Cindy, I know you know what I'm talking about. I know you do. All right, so we're going to push this down in there. I'm just using a little sand and stick here to feed it through there because it's thicker, right? So I couldn't do that by hand, not likely. And I'm going to make a hanger for this. I'm going to tie it first in place to look like it is stuck together by being tied, even though it is not. We're going to make it look like that's how it's attached. All right. Then I'm going to hold it in place, but lift it. So it's exactly where I want it to be positioned, okay? I know exactly where it needs to be glued down. And then I'll only put my glue in that area. I'm going to press it down and hold it in place. Once it is set up, I can continue with my tag. I'm going to go up here and just make a knot. Very easy to do, y'all. However long you want this to be, that's where you want to put your knot. Then I'm just going to cut it at a slant and use a piece of the ribbon that we had left to make a beautiful little bow. Very pretty little satin ribbon. I had to use this, y'all. It's so pretty. I'm going to cut this off at a slant. And then you can put it anywhere you want on your piece, but I think I'll put it right here. Very delicate and pretty, I think. I hope y'all like this one. It's a little different, but you know, we like to use these tags from Dollar Tree, and if you don't like the prints on them, they still, the hardware, you know, the backing is such a good option to use in your pieces. Going to use ivory chalk paint, paintbrush, of course, some burlap from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use a vinyl bee sticker, and then 2 of these little signs from the Dollar Tree. They look like tags. On one of these pieces, on one of the tags, I'm going to be cutting out and covering it with the burlap. Protect your fingers. We're going to be touching hot glue. I'm going to put that glue down here and then take my covered fingers and then press it down and hold it in place for a moment to catch. And then on this side, I'm going to add some hot glue, a little bit more on this side. You know, 2 lines works better. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. You know, be here, be part of that 100,000 that I'm working for by Halloween. I would love it if you're enjoying the video to give me a thumbs up so that I know that you like the content, that what I am doing on my channel is something that you enjoy. And always, always, I ask that you comment down below, because we are active in the comments. Not only do I comment, but other sweet, sweet watchers will also comment on your videos if there's any way that they can help you. We have a close, tight-knit community here. We keep the comments clean and safe, and I want you to feel at home. All right, so now we're just going around the back, and we're adding all the pieces down with the hot glue. I'm trying to make my corners kind of neat and folded in so that they look manufactured instead of just slapped together. I'm going to press that down, and then once I give the glue a chance to set, I'll grab my scissors and trim off the excess just to make it a little less bulky, because, you know, in the end you'll want to go back over this and add some type of a crafting paper or something to cover up the back, make it nice and neat. Just tucking that corner, rolling it over, pressing it down, and then trimming off the excess again. Then I'm going to go in the top, and this will be our last little piece that we have to add the hot glue to keep this nice and neat. Did y'all see the little bee there? The bee says, "Be happy. Don't worry, be happy." Y'all remember that song? Yes, I remember it. I sure do. All right, now I chose ivory because it's very similar to the shade of white or cream that is in the bee sticker, and I want it to look like it belongs together. But I could have used white because there's white on this fabric. So I have this little loop. It came from Dollar Tree in a little bag. I don't really even know what these things are, but I like to use them for tab sign toppers. They look nice. It gives it a finished look when you put your rope or your twine or your ribbon through the top, but you'll see what I mean. So I'm taking my very tiny sharp detail scissors. I've just cut an X in there and I'm trimming it out. I want that to be open, and at first I think, okay, let's use some antiquing wax on here. So if you want to use antiquing wax, this is what you'll do. Very easy. Dip into it and then just kind of put it all over there. The only place you won't put the antiquing wax is going to be on the bottom part where you'll have glue. Okay, because glue and antiquing wax do not mix. They repel one another and they won't stick. I'm going to take my finger protector and some hot glue and push the ends into the inside, and then you can put this right on top. It's a little bit bigger than the diameter of the hole, but you know, we're going to fix that. Don't worry about that. We're going to fix it. So once it is glued in place and I look at it, I'm thinking, no, let's do black.
So I will go back over this entire thing with black, which is what you see me doing here. I think it's called Rich Black. It is a chalk paint. Chalk paint, for those of you who wonder why we always use chalk paint, it dries quickly. It gives a nice full coverage. So a lot of crafters like a mineral or chalk paint for that reason. But you can use acrylics, it just takes a little longer. Alright, so here is my bee. I did get my bee from TEMU, but you can print yours out yourself if you have, you know, if you have a Cricut or some type of a printing tool, you can do it yourself. Or you could even print something off on, you know, a colored printer, cut it out and decoupage it, because now you know how to decoupage, right? We already looked at how to do it with the other projects, so you'll know exactly what you're doing. So I'm just going to press this bee onto here with my hands. The paper or the backing looks wrinkly, but it's really not. And I'm pretty sure when I put this down I should have divided again with the paper, but you know, I didn't do that, and it turned out completely fine. So I am just going to push this down. I have a Mod Podge squeegee, but you use a credit card, you can use your driver's license, whatever you want to use for this. And I am going to begin to take the backing right off of here. So as I'm doing this, I'm not using any type of a weeding tool because maybe you don't have one, but you can buy them at Dollar Tree if you're interested. I'm going to just gently pull and make sure that I am looking under the edge so that I'm not pulling off a leg or any fine details in here. You can see the bee has kind of like a fuzzy looking edge around its body, and I want to leave that there. I don't want to tear any of that off. Now I'm taking that squeegee and going right back over. It is laying nice and flat and thin and beautifully. She is good to go. And I was instructed by several people that the bees, the honeybees, are all female. The ones who protect the queen, they are all female. So the queen has her squad, and I love that. Who better to protect you than your buddies, right? Absolutely love it. So now I want to, you know, of course, age this. You don't have to do this step if you don't want, but I've just got a little bit of my antiquing wax. And by pouncing it, I push that antiquing wax up into the bristles of the brush. And then I am just going to pat a little bit off and then go all around the edges of this board. I'm also going to get in, I think I cut it out in the editing, but kind of around the bee to give a little shadow around that bee as well. And you just do light layers until you get it the color you want. And then I also run around the hole on the top. And I like that. So now I'm going to take my hot glue, and I'm just going to start off by making sure that I have those two holes lined up on the top and that my bee antenna are not hidden. I want my bee to show. Then I'll just use some of these little clamps to clamp this in place, because I'm going to be lifting up on this part slightly to add glue in there to attach the two pieces together. I'll hold it down for a moment and then grab some weights, and these are just little garden stones, and I'm just going to put those on there, give them a little time to dry. And then I'm going to use this pretty piece of trim. I think this came from Dollar Tree. I am going to double it over onto itself about an inch from the end, glue it onto itself so it makes one continuous circle, and then I am going to let it dry. You can see it's a very tight bond, and then I'll go right through the center, pull it through the back, grab the back, and pull it up on the top. And make sure that my ribbon is laying nicely, that it is where it should be. And then if you would like to put a bow on there, you can certainly do it, but I skipped it for this one. It was still kind of spinning when I did this end screen, so I apologize for that. I don't want to make anyone dizzy, but it was still moving a bit. You can iron your burlap, I'm sure, to get the lines out, but it didn't bother me for my project.
Thank you for watching and subscribing. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you soon. Bye.